Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Arwin, Chocolate Saiyan, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon,
morning.
good evening, wherever you may be. Good to have you all. Did we get anything from Discord?
On.
Anything from Discord, say hello? Literally nothing.
Morning, Nathan.
Enthusiasm level at 5% from Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm sure it'll increase. Last week it did. By Friday, you guys couldn't contain yourselves. I'm sure the same will happen this week. Anyway, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
It's over there.
Over-
we
over
wouldn't
where?
expect
Over
to see
where?
the geometric horizon.
Where's the geometric horizon, Arwin?
Right there below the apparent horizon that's refracted above it.
We only have one horizon.
No, we have the geometric horizon, we just don't see it.
Then it's not a horizon. A horizon is the apparent demarcation between land and sea, or sky and sea, or sky and land. That's a demarcation, an apparent position, something you can see. Apparent, meaning it appears.
Well, you would be able to see it if it wasn't basically blocked by a mirage.
Blocked by a mirage. Mirages don't block things. Physical things block things. Mirages don't block things.
Well, overlaid is not literally blocking, but you just can't see it because the image basically trumps any visuals that would have come from the geometric horizon.
So it's not geometric and you can't see it, so it's not a horizon. This isn't going well, Arwin.
What you gotta have?
Swimmingly.
What comes first, the geometric or the mirage?
What, to the observer or how it is manifested?
That's both the same thing. To the observer, to observe it must be observable, aka apparent. And it isn't, so it's not either.
To the observer, the apparent mirage effect manifests first, but yeah, from how it came into being, it is basically the terrestrial refraction that takes the geometric horizon.
What geometric
and then
horizon?
warps it.
What
The
geometric
one you
horizon?
can't see.
If you
Can't
can't
see
see
it.
it, it can't be refracting it.
No, you can't see it because it is refracted.
So we don't have a geometric horizon then.
Well, not optically.
Well, then we
But-
don't have one. A horizon's optical. Back to this. So apparent, we would see it. We don't.
No, but it's
so we haven't.
geometric.
Oh,
No,
what Arwin's doing,
it's
right?
optical, it's
Let me
not
just stop.
geometric, right?
Okay,
It's a
that's enough.
geometric
That's
horizon.
Enough. That's enough.
You can't see it.
That's enough. What Arwin's doing is going round in circles because he knows this is a paradox, right? It's named after him. So the Arwinian paradox is the paradox of utilising a geometric horizon to derive an R value to refract that geometric horizon into a non-geometric visible location. However, in order to refract the geometric horizon, you first must have the geometric horizon in order to acquire the R value in the refraction. So it's a paradox. It goes round and round in circles forever if you're the opponent, and is pulled apart for its nonsensical illogicy, or illogical nature, because you first need the R from the geometric horizon. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. We don't have one.
Right, and it especially applies to the standard order by which all of this was established according to the Baal religion, right? They all told us, no, look, we look at the geometric horizon to establish the radius value. That's what they all said. It's even part of the official vernacular, I think, of the official story. And now terrestrial refraction means that they can't get it anymore, but they just don't want to make that connection.
Well, that's the end of their religion. The moment you refract what is used to measure, that's geometric Earth measurement. Well, if you haven't got that geometry, you haven't got the claim that it's all based upon. And it's a geometric Earth curve edge limitation at the horizon, formerly geometric, debunked if refracted. You haven't got any geometry for an Earth curve edge. The horizon's not physically blocking anything, and it certainly hasn't got boats falling over it. How absurd it is to assert that with your Earth curve maths that boats fall over a limitation at the horizon called Earth curve. Yeah, boats don't fall over the horizon. It's nonsense.
Yep. And
I have a slight contention with the naming of this paradox, but since Arwin is my boy, I'm going to let him have that.
You're right. To be fair, it was Brian that came up slightly before him.
No, it wasn't. Shut up.
He is 2 weeks.
The next is going to be Huey claiming it. Huey claims he came up with it. No way.
It was Huey that came up with the sextant trap.
I think the oldest person should be given the credit on the show.
Okay, so this one I'm going to hopefully labour a little bit and we'll dwell on for a while. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Oh, before we go there, I know. Before we go there, because that's probably a very long treatment, I still wanted to feed back a little on what I said on the Saturday show on Ballbusters, right? The side effect of terrestrial refraction, that at night you would be able to see all the celestial lights, which are going to be brighter than the actual ground that is supposedly being refracted upward like a mirage. You're going to see them right through it, right? You should, because it's a mirage that's miraged up into that apparent flat plane. But the starlight is just going to go right through that because it is going to be brighter than that, well, miraged up blackness, isn't it? It's a hologram, so it's going to shine right through it.
Maybe.
Of course, there is no terrestrial refraction, and it doesn't happen. But if there would have been terrestrial refraction, that would happen. Carry on.
I want to put a little challenge out there. Is there actually anybody who's willing to actually defend the globe's claim that it has Coriolis effect? Because so far, I don't think in the entire time that I've been doing this, I've had anybody come here who actually believes that the globe has what it claims to have. Plenty of them, if not all of them, come and explain how it doesn't have Coriolis effect. How there's zero drift. How Earth and atmosphere are demonstrating this non-effect. Now, they might even call the lack of effect Coriolis. Now, that just means they don't understand it. But my challenge is there actually anybody out there who does actually believe the globe's claim that we have Coriolis effect? Because I don't think there is. I don't think anybody believes this. Unless you're a normie and don't know any better, anybody who's actually in this discussion, on both sides of the argument, nobody believes Coriolis effect is real. I'll give you a few examples. So Simon Dan doesn't believe in Coriolis effect. He says that the reference frames that are used to describe it by the globe have been ruined. So in very literal terms, Simon Dan, claimed to be a globe believer, doesn't believe the globe in this instance. He talks about conservation of angular or linear momentum. Again, that's not Coriolis effect. So he's not defending the globe's claim of drift at 15 degrees an hour as we rotate beneath things to see them seem to curve from our vantage point rotating beneath them. Nobody seems to believe that. Nobody believes in the globe Earth claim of Coriolis effect because nobody's defending it. Again, like I say, they might want to come and defend their nonsense that isn't Coriolis, but they sure as hell don't want to claim that there's Earth turning beneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. They might even go as far as to tell me that I don't understand what the globe claims, while they tell me that that isn't what they're going to be defending. But I do understand what the globe claims. It claims Coriolis effect That's Earth rotating beneath an inertial reference frame for you to observe items not attached to Earth drifting at 15 degrees an hour. That's the actual globe claim. For that to be the case, we've got to be turning beneath stuff. And all we get is people telling us how that isn't the case. So I want to put it out there as an actual challenge. Is there actually anybody who believes the globe claim of Coriolis effect? Because I don't think there is.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a basic interpretation of it. You got to get, you have to have higher learning, a higher education. Then you
Calm down,
find
Danny
out.
Faulkner.
Yeah, Danny was just projecting because he did not understand it, and while he waffled on about nonsense that wasn't real, like Coriolis, the illusion thereof affecting winds, he was disseminating his own ignorance and projecting it onto the people who read his material. So Danny Faulkner does not understand it, therefore in his pea brain of not understanding it, he thinks it's very intellectual. In fact, beyond his own intellect, because he didn't understand it and thought that illusions affected winds. Something I'm demanding he retracts. That idiocy about illusions affecting winds. You crazy idiot. You need to get on with retracting that, Danny. Chop chop. Winds aren't being affected by not actual deflection observed from rotating bodies. You idiot. But there we go. That's the situation. Many people who think that it's a complicated subject and tell you that you need a higher level of learning won't understand it while they're writing about it and publishing it. Then they are flat earthers like me demanding that they retract their nonsense about illusions affecting wind. Total nonsense. Disseminated by PhDs who think they're on a globe. Even if they were right about being on a globe, Coriolis effect, the illusion thereof, is never going to affect wind. Even if I accept his presuppositional Earth curve and spin and ball shape. Still won't have illusions affecting wind. Total idiocy on the part of Danny Faulkner.
Hey Nathan, hey everyone.
Hey Brian.
First of all, Arwen did steal my thought, and thank you, Nathan, for supporting me there. With the Arwinian paradox. And secondly,
Hold up.
yeah, he stole my thought. I was just about to say it. I had the thought in my head, and he stole it. That's what he does. So if you have any good ideas around Arwen, shut your mind
But
off.
you had it in your head and he stole it. I said it out loud and he stole it. And then Nathan named it after Owen.
Owen does that.
Maybe
Gets in
you
people's
stole it
heads.
off me as well.
Steals their ideas. It's outrageous.
Yeah,
It's
he's
all
a
good,
thief,
though.
a mind thief. But yeah, about this whole Coriolis thing, what we need to do is for one of our opposition to stand behind the claim that they can't show us the apparent drift, 15 degree an hour drift, and what it will cause of an airplane. I don't want to hear about bullets and calculations. I want to see the apparent drift of an aircraft.
That's hold on, Brian. Did you not hear what I just said? None of them are going to back that. None of them believe it, Brian. None of them believe that if you observe a plane from a turning Earth, it will appear to drift at 15 degrees an hour, like it's claimed to drift because you're turning beneath bullets, or turning beneath pendulums, or turning beneath footballs, or turning beneath gyros, or turning beneath the stars to induce this Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour. Nobody who comes here believes that, Brian. So while you're saying, I want somebody to come and defend their position on the globe, the Earth turns beneath aeroplanes so we can see them drift, it's called Coriolis effect, very much the claim the globe makes. None of them believe it, Brian. None of them. They don't believe the globe either.
There's something, yeah, but you're correct, 100% correct, but they do claim that there is a drift north-south, south-north.
So they're claiming that Earth turns beneath aeroplanes travelling north-south or south-north. Well, that would shorten flight times when travelling west, because if Earth's turning beneath an aeroplane, then a Charlotte to North Carolina to a Los Angeles flight would only take an hour and a half, because Earth's turning beneath the plane.
Yeah,
Well,
no, you're 100%.
apparently they'll go so far as to say, Nathan, I have a citation that says there is zero Coriolis effect at the equator. I heard
Yes.
that and I thought, that's very curious. Why would a glober say that? So
'Cause
I
they-
went to go look for this apparent citation that says there's zero Coriolis at the equator. And I found it. I'm not sure if it's the same one this guy was talking about, but National Geographic has a double-speaking citation that says that there is zero Coriolis at the equator. But earlier in the article, it describes how you would see Coriolis at the equator. Very interesting.
Yeah, I was quizzed, and this comes out today. So at 9 p.m. on my second channel. So subscribe today if you haven't subscribed already. I'm going to release for the first time to the public that full show, which is about an hour long, just under an hour long. But it's going to go out exclusively on my second channel, so hopefully build more subscribers on my second channel. So go and subscribe today. But it was what I was being questioned. So you've probably seen that from the clip. So I've released one clip, and then just before that comes out on my second channel, I'll also release another second clip to preempt people that the full show is going out on my second channel. So that'll come out on my main channel at 9:15 tonight. So 20:45 UK time. But in that clip, I'm being challenged to explain why that citation that you're talking about would have a description of both drift and no drift. And I'm being challenged, like I need to explain why the globe contradicts itself. My answer was, why the hell are you asking me to assess that? Aren't you assessing the globe's glaring contradiction in this regard, rather than asking me?
Yeah, that's rich.
Why is it that the globe claims that there's drift, and then also in the same exact citation claims there's no drift? Why is there a glaring contradiction in my religious faith in this sphere-shaped Earth, with Coriolis drift both occurring and not occurring? It's like, if it's claimed to occur, then Earth's turning beneath the stars to cause 15 degrees an hour of deflection. That will definitely happen on the equator. That's what the globe claims. It's called Coriolis effect. But because Earth doesn't turn under anything else to example it, you'll say there's zero at the equator. That's why there's a contradiction, because we don't observe the effect. The effect that's claimed to cause gyros to drift at 15 degrees an hour, that's Earth turning under the fixed frame of a gyro. The effect that's claimed to mean snipers have to track their target when it's a mile away, well, that's Earth turning beneath the bullet. That's Coriolis effect, deflection in the bullet because you're watching it seem to curve as Earth turns beneath its straight path. That's Coriolis effect. That's what the globes claim to have. Because when you say, okay, so Earth turned under the bullet after it left the turning Earth, when it was in the air, not attached, Earth started turning beneath it. Yeah. Well, that means when planes leave the ground, we will observe them seem to curve because we turn beneath them also. Well, they go, powered flight. No, the effect is only observed as you turn beneath things. It's got sod all to do whether or not you've got engines on the projectile. It's you turning beneath it that induces Coriolis effect. It doesn't matter if it's a lamppost in the ground and you on a roundabout beneath it. If you're turning beneath it, it looks like it moves when it doesn't. Like the plane would look like it curved when it didn't if we turned beneath it. That's Coriolis effect. So we've got the effect they claim on a globe, that's us turning beneath stuff. What's that you say? We're not observing anything drift. We don't see us drift beneath a helicopter. Well, then we're not turning beneath it as the globe claims. And up until now, all we get is people tell us how they don't believe the globe claim of Coriolis. They'll attempt to relabel Coriolis and defend how they assume Earth and atmosphere spin together. But that ain't Coriolis. That's not you turning beneath and seeing drift. So they just don't believe it. None of them do. We don't believe it. We know we don't have drift. It would shorten flight times. And they know because if they had drift, it would shorten flight times. They better make up some new crap, call that Coriolis, and start defending that. But ultimately, it's the same outcome. They don't believe the globe claim of Coriolis either.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking for one of them to produce the apparent drift of an aircraft in any direction. Produce the apparent drift of an aircraft or hot air balloon in any direction.
Yeah, the globe claims drift, so show us drift. Globe claims drift, show us drift. Show us 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis effect as claimed to happen. Don't explain why we don't have drift, because that's just you agreeing with us. You don't agree with the globe's claim. No, neither do we. You've got your different reasons for not believing the globe. Yeah. Shout out to Luke 10 Slit19, who says Danny Faulkner quotes, Globiolis goes brr, end quote.
Well, we don't have the same problem on our side because it's the stars and the sun and the moon that are turning at 15 degrees. So we don't have that problem. They have the problem when they say that when we see the stars and sun moving, it's because Earth is moving. So they're the ones with the problem.
Right.
Yeah, so show us the effect. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Show us the effect. I don't care what direction they claim it. Show us the effect.
Yeah.
Not a bullet, because we can't observe that. Has to be something we can actually observe and film with time lapse or something.
Right. Globe claims Coriolis effect. Not lack of Coriolis, and here's my reason why. It claims there's this effect, that's deviation, drift as you turn beneath. Show us it. Like I say, don't defend it not happening. Show us it happening. Globe claims Coriolis effect. We want to see the effect. Okay? Simple. I'm going to draw a line under this with the final plug for my show. So it goes out tonight. It's called Killing Coriolis on my second channel. Hour-long special show. Not gone out to the public yet. Exclusively going out on my second channel. And there's a preemptive clip from it that goes out on my main channel, this channel, Nathan Oakley 1980. If you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 Live, that is. But that goes out at 8:45 the hour that it goes out. So 8:45 in the UK. Or 8:45, 20:45 on the main channel. There's a clip. And obviously links to the full show on my second channel are in that clip. So be here or be sphere. It's called Killing Coriolis.
Let me give a little history to this, if I may.
Just one sec.
So,
just one sec. Is it Cuddles? Did you have something you wanted to add? Just hot micing. Sorry, go ahead, Tenth.
Yeah. So I remember last week someone was talking about 15 degree. Well, that's the sun's movement, and the star's movement per hour is 15 degrees. So in 24 hours, the sun will be exactly over your head again. So it's 15 degrees per hour. And how many of those do you have? You have 24 of those. It's not Earth turning. It's the luminaries. And they took that and they started adapting what that does to the globe turning. But then if the globe was turning to cause that effect rather than the sun moving and we're on a stationary flat plane, then the other things would have to come into play. The Charlotte flight to LA would have to be 1.5 hours, but it doesn't. But on a flat plane, it's the same amount of time unless you have jet winds, helping you. But other than that, it's the same time going and coming. So it breaks apart for them.
Yeah, like I say, just to round out that challenge once more, I want to know if there's actually anybody who typically would oppose us that actually does believe in there being globe Earth Coriolis effect. Because as far as I can ascertain, and I'll give my Simon Dan example in a moment again, none of you believe the globe's claim that there's Earth turning beneath stuff to cause drift. You just don't believe it. Simon Dan says the reference frames in that claim are ruined. So Simon Dan is the poster child for not believing the globe claim of Coriolis effect. He's showing examples of men on trampolines not drifting. So very much going against the globe's claim that there will be 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns beneath stuff. It's called Coriolis effect. Dan doesn't believe it. And neither does anybody who comes here and argues with us. They might believe a different style of rhetoric that they make up with Earth and atmosphere moving together, but that's not Coriolis effect. We just want to know if there's anybody out there who actually just believes in the globe story that there's drift called Coriolis effect, because it doesn't seem to be the case. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Going once.
Nope.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
You're going to need R for that.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
You're going to need curvature for that, and you ain't got that either.
Okay. Any scientific evidence of gravity in that case?
We got to get them. That's another one of the things, just like Coriolis. We need a definition of what they think gravity is, because there's two different kinds, maybe even more that we're not aware of.
Anybody been presented with any good evidence for gravity? Discord, talking to you? Does the gravity discussion not come up anymore? Have they given up on it?
Well, they're stuck between Newton and Einstein, and the third one that hasn't come out yet. So I think they're.
But why? The question is, why are they stuck? Their mainstream narrative superseded Newton in 1915, so they should all be on board with the same rhetoric. Why is it somebody will come in here and talk about mass attracting mass? What the hell is that about?
Their plate's kind of full chocolate. They're busy trying to get proof for Coriolis. They're going to put gravity on hold for a while.
Didn't know there was a third one coming out. So Gravity 3, this time it's personal. Shout out to Godzilla37. He says, once Virus is back from walking his fish, he will finally prove the globe fairy tale. Just wait till he parks his unicorn. Thank you for the super chat.
I got a mental image of Virus walking the fish on that one. Nice.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, Danny Faulkner seems to think he knows it all.
It's not providing viable hypotheses, though, is he? I mean, claims of Coriolis effect, even if they were correct, which his are not. He's got illusions affecting winds. They're not scientific claims.
Well, listen, you guys, it's just very simplistic explanation that this takes a little bit of education that the flat earthers don't have. So just come to my blogs. I'll teach it to you. I've answered all the.
Apparently, Neil deGrasse that doesn't have this education either. Because he clearly stated that he was wrong. So I would love to see the debate, the great debate between Danny Faulkner and Neil deGrasse Tyson as to who gets to be the top heliocentric priest running around teaching everybody this shit.
Well,
no, but he didn't even go on to say what it was that we're not understanding. He just threw a statement out there, and that's it.
Well, could they, if they did observe a phenomenon, could they accurately describe that phenomenon if they believed in a sphere?
Have you got anything in mind? Which question is this in regards to, or are you just talking generally if there was any phenomena whatsoever that suggested we were on a sphere? Because the only one I can think of is the star's movement.
Yeah, but when they describe the star's movement, they're going to have to insert an R value, aren't they?
Yeah, then they're going to start measuring Polaris moving back away 69 statute miles and getting a 1 degree drop towards the horizon. That's an angle measurement. So they're taking flat plane measurements, deriving R values, and then moving your position to the tool and calling to the top of the surface of the tool and calling that the globe Earth surface, and then saying as the tool rotates through its various degrees, that's the movement that you've just measured off a flat plane. Hopefully that was a concise enough answer.
Well, right. So they're never going to get past the point where they describe what their phenomenon is.
Well, no, but what we have here in that regard is the proto-fallacy that we were describing in the pre-show. Just whistle past the problem, or describe the problem first and then move past it with the problem in situ, but the solution to the problem being ignored, even though the solution to the problem actually debunks your original claim in this instance, i.e. us pointing out to them, first step, measure flat Earth angle. Second step, derive R value from flat Earth angle measurements to these stars. Third step, bend line that you measured angle with to get R? That doesn't seem to make sense. No, much better to ignore those first steps completely and start with the angle and talk about how that angle, only acquirable from a flat surface, works with a curved surface after you've got it, ignoring that you got it from a flat plane. Again, not that concise. I'll work on it, John.
Yeah, it sounds like trouble for me if they even try to enter into the scientific method. They're just not going to be able to do it.
So check out Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Ballbuster's just gone. and the three previous shows that went before it, all covering science and the scientific method in exquisite detail. So be here or be sphere in a fortnight from now, which is when the next Ballbusters and the concluding science and the scientific method show will go out. But there's been 4 already, so check them out.
I know we've been hawking on this for a bit, but if we get like a little bored or something, if we want to go through this citation about the Coriolis effect having zero Coriolis at the equator, we can do that. I put it in Master B.
Okay, I'll put it up on screen. So this is the citation that is discussed, or I'm being quizzed on in the show that comes out later today. And the question that's asked towards the end is, why is the citation saying that there both is and is not drift at the equator? So this is National Geographic, yes it is, Coriolis effect. Did you want me to go down to a particular part and you can point them out to us, QE Chocolate?
Yeah, if you want, I could. I mean, it's pretty long, so we don't have to read the whole thing. I just wanted to point out 2 things real quick. One is, at the bottom of the article, it does say, where is it? Sorry. Where am I here?
I think I've got it. Coriolis force, the invisible force that appears to deflect wind. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
That's not the part I was looking for. Give me a second.
Why is it in a separate box called Fast Fact? It's like, just listen to this. It completely contradicts what we've just said, but it's super fast. So, just bite size. Just chew it up, shit it out, and don't worry about it. So in the first paragraph, I'm just going to read this. The Coriolis effect describes the pattern of deflection taken by objects not firmly connected to the ground as they travel long distances around Earth. So it's very much a globe Earth reference to what Coriolis effect is. It's the pattern of deflection. Well, the pattern of deflection can only be observed as you rotate beneath the item that you're watching. Now, this, according to the citation, applies to items that aren't connected. Well, that would be aeroplanes, wouldn't it? So according to this citation, you will see deflection in items moving for a long distance over the Earth's curved, rotating surface to cause this Coriolis effect. That's what the name of this is. That's what this is about. So Earth has Coriolis effect. That's not actual deflection observed as you rotate beneath things. Okay? And what is it that we're going to observe it in? Well, we're going to observe it in objects not firmly connected to the ground. That's what we're going to observe it in. So, okay, according to this, I'm going to rotate underneath things, and when I do, I'm going to see them drift because they're not firmly connected to the ground. Yeah, that's in line with what Coriolis effect is. You can demonstrate it with a roundabout. Toss a ball over the top of it. The ball travels straight. But because you're rotating on a roundabout beneath it, it looks like it takes a curved path. It's the deflection, the pattern of deflection, taken by objects not firmly attached to the ground. Now, in my roundabout example, the ball isn't attached to the roundabout. That would be the ground that's spinning that you're attached to, watching it seem, not actually, Danny Faulkner, seem to curve. Yeah, this all checks out. Other than not firmly attached to the ground includes a Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles flight. That if we're observing it seem to curve because it's not attached to the ground that's spinning that we're observing it from, then we're turning underneath that flight from Charlotte to LA, shortening its flight time from 4.5 hours to 1.5 hours so that we can see it have this Coriolis effect globe Earth claims to have. That would be it drifting from the rotating claim to be globe Earth. So check out that plane going from Charlotte to LA. Looks like it's taking a curved path. Not really. Just us turning beneath it to have Coriolis effect. And that would shorten its flight to 1.5 hours, and that doesn't happen. So Earth doesn't rotate underneath anything. Did you have anything to add, Chocolate? Or did anybody else who's read this? Because I've only just literally cast eyes on it for the first time now.
Yeah, something I wanted to point out. So, in the second paragraph, right, it says the key to the Coriolis effect lies in the Earth's rotation. Specifically, Earth rotates faster at the equator than it does at the poles. Earth is wider at the equator, so to make a rotation in one 24-hour period, equatorial regions race nearly 1,600 kilometers or 1,000 miles per hour. Near the poles, Earth rotates at a sluggish 0.00008 kilometers or 0.00005 miles per hour. Okay, so they went out of their way with this paragraph to show us, or to tell us, that the equator, obviously things are happening much faster at the equator than at the sluggish, their words, poles. Okay. Then they talk about how, let's pretend you're at the equator and you're throwing a ball north, and let's pretend you're in the North Pole throwing the ball south, that you would have this Coriolis effect. Now, my problem comes when they go down to the bottom, like you said, the fast fact, when they say the Coriolis effect, right? Coriolis force, and they highlight this, which is I find cute. The Coriolis force is 0 at the equator. Though the Coriolis force is useful in mathematical equations, there is actually no physical force involved. Instead, it is just the ground moving at a different speed than an object in the air. Okay. Is that not happening at the equator? For them to tell you earlier in the article that if you were to throw a ball from the equator to north, you would get a deflection. But now here, in bold purple, they're going to tell you, no, at the equator, the Coriolis force is 0. And go out of the way to tell you there's no physical force involved. It's just the ground moving at a different speed than the air. There are problems with this hard body.
Right. It's because it's connected to an Earth that doesn't exhibit the effect that's claimed to be turning when it isn't. So the Coriolis effect is a real effect. And it's simply deflection observed as you rotate beneath things. That's all it is. My example is the most simplistic one you can get. Ball tossed over the top of a roundabout between two people who are not on the roundabout. And they're just playing catch. Ball goes back and forth in a straight line between the two people. Now, for you, the third party, who is the one and only person that can experience Coriolis effect in this example, or any example, must be rotating beneath this ball to see Coriolis drift. It's the only way to observe Coriolis effect. To be rotating beneath it on the roundabout. So as you rotate beneath the ball, you look at it and it goes like it's curving. It isn't really curving, it just looks like it because you rotate beneath it. That's what Coriolis effect is. So, we would see balls curve if we rotate beneath them, like the globe claims we will have Coriolis effect. So the effect's very much a real effect. We just don't see it on Earth. We see it on roundabouts when balls are tossed over the top of them. We just don't see it on Earth in anything ever. Of course, it is actually claimed to be the cause of the star rotation we see at night. That's Coriolis effect, 15 degrees an hour thereof. We also have Neil deGrasse Tyson claiming it has an influence on field goals. The ball gets tossed straight, but because Earth turns beneath it, there's a 1/4 of an inch deflection to the right. Because of Earth's rotation. Beneath the ball, moving the goalposts. That's what's claimed to happen. As I keep saying, nobody believes it. Not even the people who come here to argue that they actually believe in a globe. They don't believe Earth turns beneath stuff. Simon Dan says the entirety of the reference frames used to claim it are ruined. So nobody's believing this crap. Not even the people who oppose us flat earthers believe that there is Coriolis effect, because we'd have to be turning beneath stuff to observe it, and we're not.
But it's because they have special instruments now for airplanes to oh, damn it.
To account for it from the air. Yeah, you can't account for an effect, as I described earlier, only observable for the guy on the roundabout. That is the only possible way to see Coriolis effect. The effect is only observable as you rotate beneath an inertial reference frame. So if you're on the plane, you're not on a claim to be turning Earth rotating beneath it to see Coriolis effect. So you're certainly not going to be accounting for it in the plane, because you can't account for it in the plane, because you can't see it or experience it from the plane. You can only experience it as you rotate beneath things. Now, because it's patently obvious that we don't rotate beneath anything on Earth, that never happens, we never see the effect, our opponents come and tell us why we don't see the effect of Coriolis as the globe claims. So, as I keep pointing out, nobody believes there's Coriolis effect on a turning Earth. Nobody believes it. Even our opponents don't believe it.
The key to what Sideman Dan says is you and your reference frames have been ruined. Doesn't
You and
just
your-
say the
you and your reference
He
frames have
says
been ruined.
Your reference frames have been ruined.
Yeah, the word he struggled
key.
with was your. He went, you and your reference frames have been ruined. Yeah, you, Dan. See, I don't need to stutter over pointing out whose reference frames are ruined. Your claim to be globe belief in reference frames is ruined. But that just means that the entirety of the Western world does not stand behind you, Dan. You don't believe what they believe, because they believe Earth turns beneath to induce Coriolis effect. You don't believe that, though, do you, Dan? You think the whole idea is nonsense. Nothing's drifting, and you've got examples of how that's the case, right? So you don't believe there's Coriolis effect, Dan. Neither does anybody else. I challenge a single person to come here and claim they believe in Coriolis effect.
Right, but the trick of what they really did is they just disclaimed Coriolis effect. It's not happening, but they replace it then with Globiolis, and that is happening. And they think that is the consequence of the Earth spin, not apparent deviation.
But not apparent deviation, Globiolis effect, is nothing happening to observe. They're just explaining why there's nothing happening to observe, but there's claimed to be a Coriolis effect to observe. There isn't, so they defend why there isn't, rather than showing, like the globe claims, that there is. So Brian and I, in this show, are saying, just show us Coriolis effect. Don't tell us why there isn't any. Yeah, Dan? Don't tell us the reference frame's ruined, because that'll have me pointing out that you're not a globe believer, Dan. You don't believe what the globe peddles, that Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis effect. You don't believe that, Dan, neither do we. Nobody believes that there's Coriolis drift caused by a globe turning beneath stuff to induce Coriolis effect. Nobody believes it.
Yeah,
Nathan,
welcome to stationary Earth.
Nathan, I've got two slides from a celestial navigation point of view on the subject in Master B.
Okay, I'll just
Before
straighten them up while you start.
Can I reiterate one thing? Because to me, when I read this National Geographic, I saw the okey doke, right? The okey doke is they tell you at the beginning of the article how they accentuate the difference, right, between the 1,000 mile per hour movement at the equator and the very sluggish, whatever it is, mile per hour at the poles. But then they go out of their way to tell you how at the equator, where it's happening extremely fast, you don't see this effect. Now,
That makes
wouldn't
no
it
sense.
be the opposite way? Wouldn't that be the place where the Coriolis effect, which they are saying does happen because you throw a ball north, well, the Earth is spinning, right? So that's why you have a deflection. So they're telling you there's a deflection while telling you there's no deflection. And the place where the deflection should be the greatest and the most measurable, the most observable, we don't see it there.
Right, so what they're effectively saying is, look, on this roundabout, at the edge of the roundabout, we're not expecting to see Coriolis deviation, only further to the center of the roundabout.
Exactly.
No, it's worse
And
than
that's
that.
what
How do you?
It's worse than that. They're saying, not only are they saying that, which is to say that on the edge of a roundabout, so take my example as well, as the example. Roundabout spinning round and around, and there's two people throwing a ball back and forth. Yeah? Now, for the now, we're going to say that they're west and east, and throwing the ball across the roundabout that way, right? Now, you sit on the roundabout, you look at the ball, it seems to curve. And the globe earther that doesn't like that effect not being exhibited on a globe earth that turns, we're not seeing that effect generally speaking, items leaving a spinning earth and drifting away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, because we don't see that effect. They say, nah, they've got to throw the ball north-south. You're like, what are you talking about? If you're rotating beneath things, it doesn't matter which way they go. You see an effect because you're rotating beneath them. Their trajectory, the ball in this example, it doesn't make any difference if they throw it across, diagonally, doesn't matter. You see a trajectory that isn't really occurring, and the description of that trajectory that isn't really occurring, i.e. a curve because you're turning beneath, that is Coriolis effect. Not the trajectory of the ball. That makes no difference.
How do you quantify or qualify a non-inertial reference frame without a radius value?
You don't. You've got to have an axis to give the radial value, to give rim velocities and radial rates at 15 degrees an hour. You haven't got that if you haven't got an R value.
So you don't even have to worry about Coriolis in that case.
Yeah, it's one of the... partly, absolutely spot on, John. That is one of the reasons my tact has changed. Because it dawned on me about 6 months ago now, when you just, every now and again, would just go, yeah, you're going to need R for that. Me and my smug knowledge about Coriolis and how wonderful I am knowing all about it. Not that I like knowing all about it, it's my least favourite subject. But suddenly dawned on me, I don't need this. I don't need this. This is useless information. Once you understand how Coriolis effect works, everything else beyond that's hyperbole. Not required in the slightest. Don't need to know how Globiolis is debunked, how to explain how planes would fly backwards if we're observing them move at the same rate as the inertial reference frame, ergo not causing the globe claim of drift. I don't need to know any of that. Why argue it? Further to that, the claim itself comes with a radial value. So this is all nonsense. I don't need it. I just want you, the globe believers, who've spent the last 5 years telling me how you don't believe the globe, you've got this new explanation that isn't involving drift, explaining precisely why there isn't any drift, and how there isn't any, and how it's zero. So that's fascinating. So you've got a totally different idea to the heliocentric claim of drift then. You don't believe Coriolis either. I mean, I'm not that interested in your individualistic idea of what you think's going on with first law of thermodynamics violation, Earth and atmosphere spinning together. That really doesn't concern me, because that's not the globe claim. But you don't believe the globe claim either. That's the bottom line here. They don't believe the globe claim of Coriolis, and we can show how it doesn't work. So we've got a justifiable reason. They just reposition it. Maybe even rename what they're claiming as Coriolis. But it ain't drift as we turn beneath things. That's all that matters. None of them believe that.
Well, celestial navigation doesn't even believe it. Once you're ready, we'll go to the slides.
I've got your first slide on apparent movement of the stars up.
Yeah, the stars have nearly fixed positions in the celestial sphere. The sun, moon, and planets move around during the year, but their movement is slow when compared to the apparent movement due to the rotation of the Earth. Okay, so let's consider for now that the celestial objects, stars, planets, sun, and moon, are fixed in the celestial sphere. Using the Earth at the center of the universe model, we'll come back to that. Imagine that the Earth is stopped and the celestial sphere is turning around it, completing a turn every 24 hours. You should not be confused by this idea. It's exactly what you observe if you sit and watch the night sky long enough. We could break this apart for a while.
Oh, brilliant.
It's all right.
Hold on.
The universe is spinning around us.
Yeah.
We're not spinning.
Well, not only that, they're labelling what it is. They're saying, ignore the globe model. We're going to use the celestial sphere model. That would be the celestial sphere over a flat plane. And the only reason it's a sphere is because it's a measurement of the perspective view you get off a flat plane of the stars in the sky. So we're going to use a flat plane model is what they're saying here then.
That's my Baldwin trick. That's how I explain it. It says Baldwin.
Let's go down to the bottom part. It says finding the Earth's position by observing the stars. Now consider a line connecting the center of the star to the center of the Earth. The point where this line crosses the surface of the Earth we call geographical position of the star, or GP. An observer positioned in the GP of a star will see it directly in the vertical above the head. Since stars move with the celestial sphere, back to the previous statement, their GPs also move on the surface of the Earth. See, their stars move on the surface of the Earth, right? And they are fast. The sun's GP, for example, travels a mile every 4 seconds. The GPs of other stars closer to the celestial poles move more slowly. The GP of Polaris moves very slowly since it's very close to the North Pole. So if you go to the next slide, let me know when you're there. Every single time when they want to show it working, they use an equatorial plane, flat disk, with the protractor curve of the motion of the stars, as you see in that top picture. Now let's read this. The Earth spins on its north and south axis, which gives us day and night. If all the stars were fixed on the celestial sphere, then as the Earth spun, we would see that during different times of the day. We would see different parts of the sky or different parts of the celestial sphere. This is illustrated on the right, B below. Look at the picture below, showing if you were a guy on a spinning Earth. Then watch what happens here as I read. Another way to look at this is if we assume the Earth was stationary and we have the celestial sphere rotating about the axis defined by the north and south celestial poles. This is, in fact, what we apparently see when we go outside and view the heavens. We appear to stand on an immobile Earth while all the stars and the sun rotate around us. It's an admission. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it said it in the last one better, in my opinion, because it basically says we're going to ditch the globe and move back to the flat plane, and they even label it. We're going to use the celestial sphere now.
It's geocentric extremism.
and look at the picture they show A versus B on that bottom picture.
Yeah,
the flat plane and the stars moving.
Right. Well, this bit would just be the arc of the tool that you're using. So while they show a globe, it's not relevant to the actual measurement. You've got a flat plane, and you've got a tool that measures the angle to whatever star that you're seeing, right down to the horizon at 0 or 180. Well, that puts 90 at your zenith and angles to the lights in the sky off a flat plane. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to measure it. It's where the R value for the sphere came from. Earth is flat.
Well, the top picture shows you the arc of the tool. It shows you.
To me, it just all seems remarkably geocentric.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's how it's used. That's how it's measured. The whole idea that we're spinning only comes from an R-value derivation of the angle measurements from a flat plane. So the notion that we're spinning, this links beautifully back into John's point in the middle of the Coriolis discussion, needs an R. So to say that you've got a sphere that is on an axis that is spinning, you've first got to take flat Earth angle measurements to the perspective view of the stars from your position, aka the celestial sphere model, on a flat plane. Earth's flat.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm going to finish up with the last slide because we've seen it so many times, but it's worth looking at.
Okay.
Well, this is how it's done, folks. Now, based on those images, what did they got here? A globe or a flat plane? It's obviously a flat plane. Height, elevation angle measured from the horizon. Z for zenith angle measured from the vertical. A, azimuth angle measured clockwise from north. You hold a compass horizontally, you measure north to get your bearing. That's over a flat plane. They're showing you the angle could only happen over a flat plane. And this is how celestial navigation works, is when you assume the Earth is flat and not spinning, and the stars above you are spinning. This is how the sextant works. And yet they want to say this works on the globe when you can't even get an angle with a curved baseline.
Awesome. Thank you, 10th.
Thank you.
Oh, we got through housekeeping a good time. Hello, Adam, by the way. He's clearly doing some business.
I guess I do have one question. I just had to think about it.
Okay, go ahead.
I wrote it down. Hold on. Let me get back to it. Any evidence of a point of refraction bending over a plane? Because I keep hearing about it, but every time I actually use my laser pointers, bouncing off mirrors, two different media, I see the bend. I see where it bends. Well,
It's an angle change.
Out.
It's not a curve.
Hold on. Let him finish his question and point. Go ahead, Cuddles.
when we go outside and we use lasers over long distance, they say refraction, but all I see is a straight line across every lake, every gulf, or wherever they're at. I've never seen any bending line.
They'll just bring forth dextro-rotation-like effects, right?
Well, the effect is real. That's where sinking comes from. The effect of something being bent down. But if you're using lasers, especially over a cold surface like an ice lake, the laser will then eventually bend up the way, not down the way. So it comes down to the temperatures and the effects of the day. But they want to claim that there is a constant bending down, which is not correct.
Yeah, based on
Well,
our...
couldn't you apply Andrew Thomas Young's studies? I mean, he did his over a flat plane, didn't he?
Right, you just have to
Yep.
you take those and don't do the geometric considerations that are automatically foisted upon you in the bait and switch. So if you're trying to say that they suggest that the light is bending in the air, whereas your observations suggest otherwise, it's kind of moot. Don't take this the wrong way. The reason I say it's kind of moot because regardless of what you observe in physical reality, their claims of refraction are always terrestrial refraction, light bending in sphere-shaped air. Oxymoron in and of itself, air isn't sphere-shaped, but that aside, their refraction needs an R value. It's a mathematical refraction. What you're describing isn't what they're arguing with you against. They're arguing with you about a mathematical derivation of R, 7/6 in standard form, aka atmospheric or terrestrial refraction. So while you're saying, I don't see that, no, neither do they, because their refraction isn't anything to do with lasers bending as you fire over a lake. It's just an R derivation.
Right. Looking closer at the 5 different types that there are, calling them refraction is still a misnomer because what you have is an optical illusion caused by changes in the area in which you're looking into. It's not even bending of light per se. It's a manipulation of the entire field of view at your resolution point.
Right, but you're right in both instances, but refraction itself isn't a bent light. It's light deviation from straight as opposed to bent, whereas when they describe it in sphere-shaped air, they have a transitioning medium, not as in one medium to another, but as in increasing layers of density as the cavity that pilots aren't accounting for opening up ahead of you opens up, increasing the amount of air that you're looking through. Therefore, it ends up in their description of what might occur in physical reality when describing terrestrial refraction based on R. They describe a whole series of glass panels that are between you and the target, all lined up around, like there's going to be constant medium changes through the glass. That's what they're describing the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, as doing, when in reality all they're doing is taking the R value and adding a derivation of it to the maths and calling that refraction. Nothing to do with what actually happens in air.
Yeah, their claim is not based in reality or on reality. Their claim is purely based on the pre-assumption that the Earth is a globe with a radius of 3959 miles. So under those circumstances, we would have refraction of blah, 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 blah. None of their claims to do with anything, especially refraction, is based in reality or on reality. It's not based on anything we actually see. It's based on things we don't see and can't observe.
Right, like the R value. but it's just a mathematical value. It's nothing to do with things you observe. It requires a bait and switch. It requires them to seem educated about refraction that actually occurs, and maybe even show you a few physical examples, only to close that suitcase when you're distracted and replace it with 7/6 of a radius value or any derivation that they see fit. But you don't realise that they've substituted actual refractive effects in air for light bending always in sphere-shaped air. So there's a bait and switch that occurs to get you to argue about what you see, because then it's all assumed by everyone arguing that when they say refraction, it's light bending in sphere-shaped air, because that's what everyone's automatically agreeing about when you say, well, I don't see that effect to occur. And they say, yeah, of course light refracts. Do you deny that? Because they're then talking about terrestrial refraction. You just don't necessarily realise it. Not you, but anybody having this argument doesn't necessarily realise that they've already bait and switched you for their sphere-shaped air refraction.
One of the best okie dokes they got.
It is.
That right there.
It is indeed. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, it's an opportunity for me to plug today's two shows that are going out. So there's a show going out on Nathan Oakley 1980 at 9:15 today, which is a clip from the full, currently unaired Killing Globiolis, or Killing Coriolis, I think I actually named the main show. So check it out on my second channel. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to my second channel, Be Here or Be Sphere, for Killing Coriolis, which goes out at 9 PM today on my second channel. So check those both out later on today if you're watching live. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!